Welcome to this video on functions and volume. In this unit, students are introduced to the concept of a function as a relationship between inputs and outputs in which each input determines exactly one output. Students will also build on their knowledge of the formula for volume of a right triangular prism from grade 7, learning formulas for volumes of cylinders, cones, and spheres. Here are the essential vocabulary words that will be introduced in the unit: function, independent variable, and dependent variable. Students will be working with functions. A function is a rule that produces a single output for a given input. Here is an example of a rule that is a function. Input a number, square it, then multiply the results by pi. Using R for the input and A for the output, we can draw a diagram to represent the function. We could also represent this function with an equation, a equals pi r squared. We say that the input of the function r is the independent variable and the output of the function a is the dependent variable. We can choose any value for r, and then the value of a depends on the value of r. We could also represent this function with a table or as a graph. Depending on the question we investigate, different representations have different advantages. You may recognize this rule and know that the area of a circle depends on its radius. Students will be working with graphs of functions. The graph of a function is all the pairs, input, output, plotted in the coordinate plane. By convention, we always put the input first, which means the inputs are represented on the horizontal axis and the outputs on the vertical axis. For a graph representing a context, it is important to specify the quantities represented on each axis. For example, this graph shows Elena's distance as a function of time. It is the distance from home. Then Lena starts at some distance from home, maybe at her friend's house, moves further away from her home, maybe to the park or to a store, stays there for a while, and then returns home. If it is distance from school, the story is different. The story also changes depending on the scale on the axis. And is distance measured in miles and time in hours, or is distance measured in meters and time in seconds? Students will be working with volumes of three-dimensional objects. We can determine the volume of a cylinder with radius of r and height h using two ideas that we've seen before. The volume of a rectangular prism is a result of multiplying the area of its base by its height. The base of a cylinder is a circle with radius r, so the base area is pi r squared. Just like a rectangular prism, the volume of the cylinder is the area of the base times the height.